Okay, that was fast. I think we're on. I think I need to turn my selfie
Woo!
camera on.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, selfie cam going on. Okay, all right, we're
I
on, and you
yeah,
can see us.
yes, we got a little thrown off there, but we are here. I am Chloe.
And I'm Sandy, and this is WordStitch, where we virtually write for like mostly 2 hours, most of 2 hours.
Yes. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is a virtual write-in. We will be doing word sprints. You can follow us here. You can also follow us on Twitter at WordStitch Write. No in on that. But we will be doing word sprints for the next 2 hours. And basically, if you're not familiar with word sprints, we're just going to be telling you to start writing, and you are going to write for the period of time that we have designated. The first one is going to be for 10 minutes. This is a really great way to get your word counts up, and if you are looking into doing NaNoWriMo, it is a good way to get yourself prepared for that. Sandy, what are you working on today?
Okay, so I am ditching my normal like project that's been taking me like a year or something to complete, and I'm writing a new reader magnet right now. So this is a prequel to my like fantasy series about like some characters that we know very little about, and I'm really excited about it. I'm actually having a really good time with it. What about you?
I don't know what I'm doing today.
I was like, should I have talked more right there? Because
No, it's fine. Like I knew that this was going to happen. I'm just also trying to pull up the YouTube channel, which is why I was giving everybody a very teefy look for a moment there. I flipped our screen and I was like, oh, look at me, like I'm moving around here. So I just finished my most recent story.
yay.
Yes, this is the one that I've been working on. So if you have been tuning in the past, I am finally home. Yay! This is where I live. I'm finally out of the hotel, and that hotel was really dragging down my productivity. I'm not blaming the hotel. I'm not one of those people who has to work in a very specific environment. I just there was a lot going on this summer, so I have been struggling to get my last book finished. I did finally finish that draft last week during our last write-in. But then I was coming back here, and so everything was kind of insane with that, and I didn't really get any work done. And then yesterday and the day before, I did an entire edit on it. So because it is a PNR, that's paranormal romance, shifter novella. This is not something that needs super crazy editing on it. So I did that editing pass. And now it's kind of sitting for those of you who have not gone through the editing process yet. And if you're self-editing, it's always a good idea to let it sit at least for a few days before you pick it up again, just because it's really easy to skip over stuff. You kind of gloss over it, which is great when you're like, doing a homework assignment, but not when you're trying to find uh, typos. So I am letting it sit right now, and then I will do another pass in a couple of days. And so right this exact moment, I don't know what I'm doing. But we do have a topic of discussion today. We are going to be talking about beat sheets and other ways to plan out a novel that might work for you. And so I don't know if I'm going to be starting the next story in the series or actually working on research for that. And that was my really, really long-winded way of saying I don't know what I'm doing right now.
No, I think it's fine though. I mean, and I'm excited to talk about the beat sheets and such today, not only because I have like a gazillion of them to share, but also because, I mean, I think that this is something that we've both kind of had issues with where like we'll write a story, it'll be amazing, but like way too long or something, and then you got to go back and fix it. I have these problems more than Chloe does. but I'm excited that we're dealing with it for
Do
me.
it a different way. So it is 5 after, so we are going to
Okay.
start our first war now. Sandy, you wrote the prompts this week. What is our prompt for this first war?
Your main character needs to make a hard decision.
Awesome. And I apologize for calling it a war. We call it a sprint here. Both words are fine.
I'm warring
But go
today.
ahead and write, and we'll see you guys at 15 past the hour.
Hey,
We're back.
we are back. Oh, that was a hard one for me. I kept getting interrupted by like all kinds of stuff, but I did get 207 words written. That's really bad, you guys. I need to write 3,000 today.
I feel like with the 10 minute, if you get anything done, then you have succeeded. I had somebody come by and ring the doorbell, and I assumed that it was, Amazon. Because it's like when my phone rings, I assume that when the doorbell rings, it doesn't matter any. But then I heard somebody in the driveway.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, so as I mentioned, or as we mentioned before we went on that word sprint, we are talking today about plotting in general, specifically about using beat sheets or other things that are similar to beat sheets. We're talking about this because, again, as I went really long-winded, I'm trying to figure out how to write my next story because the last one, I feel like it's a good story still, but my plot is kind of a train wreck. I don't write plot driven stories. I write character driven stories. So I don't think it matters so much, especially when you're writing romance. If your plot is kind of, but so we're discussing today ways to keep your plot from being,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with like what we have historically done, maybe, because we have a couple of breaks to talk about this with.
Yeah.
And so for me, I started out like an intense planner. Could never finish a story that way. Like the planning just, I don't know. It's almost like it takes the fun out or something like that. And move. So I moved to being like a character writer, right? Where I was sort of like pantsing things the whole way, and I can finish a story that way. It just takes me like 5 years. So I have since started like this year to get my stuff done. I'm using beat sheets, and that's my story evolution. Chloe, what about you? What's your progression?
Pantser.
Just straight up, always pantser.
I have always been a pantser. In the early years, definitely always 100% pantser. There were a couple of attempts at plotting. There was actual attempts with beat sheets. They went miserably. It was always for NaNoWriMo. I always said, okay, well, my stories go off the rails when I'm trying to write 50,000 words in a month. So I will start plotting this. And I don't know what it was about it for me personally, but if I did all of my plotting before I wrote the story, I didn't write the story.
Yeah.
I gave up immediately. So I did also, I guess I bounce back and forth depending on what I'm writing. I have gone through phases where I kind of do like a Bible style. So the one that it's not a completed story, but I do think it worked for me. It's just other reasons that it was not completed. But I do have one story that I had set up to take place in a series of music festivals. So I did do this crazy thing where I thought of these like crazy antics that were going to go on in the story, and I had each page. I had a page dedicated to each of the festivals they were going to be at, and I kind of organized it that way. And like I said, like I haven't finished that story yet. It just had to be put on the back burner for other stuff. And like I wasn't really sure about it, so it's a whole thing. But I do feel like the story is solid, and that method did work for me. Just having like this little bit of organization to scenes. And then last year for Nano, I was rewriting something that I had written the year before that I had an issue with it being too long. And so for that, I used Scrivener to kind of like put just the major points down for the story. And those are basically, if you're familiar with Scrivener, those would have basically been the part headings. I just had like 6 different parts of where the story needed to go. And then I designated a certain amount of chapters before the next part. So it was a really rough outline, but that helped quite a bit as well. So I have now gone from a straight up pantser to a planter. I do very limited plotting. Most of the story is pantsing, and with the short stuff that I'm doing now that's under 40,000, it is straight up pantsing.
Yeah, no, I think that the planting thing actually ends up working. Like to me, like when you plot too much, what ends up happening is like you try to force characters into situations that they wouldn't actually get into, right? So like you as the god of the universe create this like whole setup, and you assume that like your characters will do exactly what you tell them to do. Then you give them free will, and they're like
Yeah.
rebellious. So
Now,
like,
for a little clarification on that, and I'm sure Sandy 100% agrees with this, and I'm not putting words in her mouth. She means that for her and for me. There are, I know that there are a good portion of writers who that absolutely works for. So that's not saying that like you're wrong when you do that, but for both of us, we have both found that planting works best for us. But if
yeah,
it's not what works best for you, and you are absolutely the Bible person, but like not a Bible and like that little binder I showed you, but like that insanity. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna
but
start calling it insanity.
you know what though? I like that's a good
You
point.
need to have every single element there, especially like if you are writing in like high fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
um, hard sci-fi. Yeah, things get a little bit different there. So continue, Sandy. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make
No,
sure that I figured that was what you were
yeah.
saying. But
Well, yeah.
sometimes
I
it
mean,
comes out a little weird.
I agree with you. Like, I'm not trying to say this is how everybody should be, but I will say, like, if you're struggling, like if you struggle to finish something, and you're historically a plotter, it could be that you're plotting too much. Like, it might be
Oh,
that you're trying
100%.
to, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I
but if you have found that it works for you, certainly keep rocking with that.
Oh hell yeah! Don't ever change
Yeah.
something that
But
works
if it
because
is
we tell you
not
it
working
doesn't.
for you, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but no, no, no. So for me, definitely like the planting thing is a really nice intermediary, and I think so. After our next word sprint, so beat sheets are a discovery for me this year, and they're such a good like middle ground between over outlining and planning things and having nothing at all, because they sort of just give you a structure to work from and like some goals for every chapter. So maybe after our next thing, I can show some beat sheets.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
That's exactly what we're going to do. We are going into this
yeah,
next sprint, though, in just a moment.
we writing.
If I can get that share screen. One day, I don't know, I feel like there's got to be some way to hotkey this. So it's not too many steps for me to share that screen, but at the moment it's a whole bunch of steps to share this screen. We are going to go ahead and start now, though. We're writing until for 25 minutes. So that's going to be 10 of the hour, 10 of 5 if you
Oh,
are oh
and
no.
we have a prompt. I was just going to say,
Oh
so the
yes, we do
prompt
have
is
some.
your
Yes.
main character has a heart to heart with a frenemy.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. All right, guys, we will see you in 25 minutes.
Okay, we are back.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a solid 700 words for me. Not the thousands that I'd like, but still.
I think 700 is really good on 25 minutes.
Yeah, most importantly, I finished the scene, so I can like move on
Oh,
to a full new scene for the next one.
and I always assume that like if it's when you finish the scene, it means that you could have written more if you were not so far into the scene.
Uh,
Is that not the case for you, or did you like literally finish that scene at that last second?
I finished it with like 27 seconds to spare.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I suppose I could have written for 27 more seconds, but I did not. I just set up the next document for things in Scrivener. But what about you? Did you end up outlining, beat sheeting, checking out
No,
Jamie
I
Gold's stuff?
was messing with Jamie Gould's romance beat sheet.
So let's actually look at that. How about I do this? I'm going to pull it up on your screen, Chloe. So I'll
Okay.
screen share. All right, this is gonna get messy for a second, you guys. I'm gonna screen share with Chloe, and okay, so now I think she can see my screen,
Yes.
and now I think you guys can see it like kind of really super small, like really super small. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so there, I think that's a bit bigger for our audience if you're watching. So this is a Scrivener beat sheet, and this is Jamie Gold specifically. So I think this is her like full beat sheet put into Scrivener, and this is so if you're not familiar with Jamie Gold, she does a bunch of like writer worksheets, and they're really pretty good. And one of the things she is specifically known for is like these Excel beat sheets that basically say like if you're writing a story and it's 100,000 words, then your first, I don't know, 10,000 need to be this, and then your next 2,000 need to be this, and she like lays it all out for you. So the spreadsheets are really good, but I don't write in spreadsheets. I write in Scrivener, and she happens to have some Scrivener templates, and this is one of them. So, like, probably, what am I doing over here? Oh, might need to drag my mouse. So, like, you can probably only barely see at the very edge of the screen here, but for her beat sheets in Scrivener, she puts total word counts over here on this side. Now I'm going to scroll back
Oh, that's
over.
way the hell over there. That's irritating. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
can you like minimize that box, or not minimize, but like take the box down a little bit and it'll tuck it in, or
I can
no?
kind of. So there's something wonky about that I can't actually fix all of that. I do not know
Okay.
why. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that bizarre?
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah,
is real weird.
it's very weird.
Do we
Actually,
want to switch to me and I'll show the Excel one?
yeah, let's do that real quick
Yeah.
because I can also show what I've done. I find her beat sheets. Okay, I'm gonna. So I've switched to you, Chloe. Um, I find Jamie Gold's beat sheets to be very helpful, but I will admit that like I think that
Oh, wow.
they're
That half of my head right there.
sorry.
No, it's fine. I am switching my screen over. Um, there we go. Okay. Okay.
Perfect. So now we've got the Excel sheet. Yeah.
And hopefully I can make this. There we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so if we're looking at my screen, which we are, the way that the Excel one works is that you enter your word count here, and then from that, I don't know. Can you see my mouse on that screen? I don't think you can.
I think we can. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
The
perfect.
little plus.
So you enter the word count. When you download this thing, as I just did, it will be set to 110,000 words or 400 pages. This is the romance beat sheet, because she does have other beat sheets. And you can see now better the total word count on it. So she has it broken down into the acts. You've got Act 1, Act 2, and so forth. And then within each act, you've got the
specific
elements
task.
that happen within the act, and you can see here the breakdown of both the page and the total word count.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're really great for organization. I find the Excel sheet hard to work from because, like, for whatever reason, I need to know like how many words I need to put in each like part. So like there I can see, okay, I need 2,750 words in the opening act. Oh wait, scroll back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And like, so then she goes right to the inciting incident, and suddenly we're at 20,000 words, and I'm like, what happened there? That was like 60 pages.
This is really weird how it's broken
Right?
down, because the inciting incident appears to be somewhere within the first 80 pages. Like,
Yeah.
the first 80 pages is the inciting incident.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she means if you should have your inciting incident somewhere in that 80 pages, or if your entire 80 page, that doesn't.
Yeah,
Not really
right?
sure what she means by that.
But, okay, so I'm going to switch back over to mine so I can go back to the Scrivener one. This is going to get interesting. Okay, screen 2, share. I think you can keep yours on your share and that we can flip back and forth, actually.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, yeah, that's... Wait. There. Done. Phew!
Did anybody else trip balls there? Hi.
Seriously, right? I do think some of these are helpful. So like this one, this is a romance beat sheet that I found. I think this one is fantastic. I think it might be based on...
It's not Jamie Gold?
I think it might be based on a Jamie Gold, but it might not have been. Actually, here, let's look at the about and see who did this. This is Gwen Hayes. So I personally, like, this worked for me much better for romance. Come on now.
And actually, I will say this looks a lot more like what I did with my last Nana, that I had said that I had kind of broken stuff down in Scrivener.
Yeah, because I feel like with this, like, it's sort of a more clear, like, okay, so, you know, I need to do these tasks, and then I can decide, like, if the story is going to be, 80,000, then each part needs to be, what would that be? 20,000 words or something, and then you're thinking of each little card here as a chapter. So, like, I don't know if you can see it if you're watching.
No, we'll open a card up, and we'll probably be able to see it if you open it up.
Wait, that's probably true. Let's see. I keep trying to do it on the OBS screen, which
don't do that.
Okay, where did my mouse go? Yeah,
this is like trying to interact with the screenshot.
It is very weird. No, it doesn't.
No, it's not going to get bigger.
But whatever. So it's. I mean, there's a lot that you can work with there. So since this worked better for me, so this is mine that I've just recently created, sort of like similarly to the Jamie Gold one. Because again, like I just needed something like a little bit simpler. And I felt like I could work with like 8 index cards, but I was not sure that I would be able to work with dozens.
I'll say this for it. I feel like Jamie Gold's, and I know that there are simplified ones and more complex ones, but I feel like all of them are like introduction to plotting, and it's not planting. It's plotting for beginners, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, I mean, okay, so like these cards, like my introduction there, start your story in the middle of the action, show us who your MC is, what MC wants and why, what event creates the obstacle that stands in MC's way, what weakness holds MC back from trying to overcome the obstacle. Now, like, yes, that is sort of an outline, but like I didn't specifically say anything about how any of that would go down.
Oh, no. I'm specifically referring to Jamie Gold's in that statement.
But isn't hers the same? I think hers is the same.
Like, so in depth. that you're really just like teaching yourself how to plot.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
she has a simplified one. So, like, her simplified one is here. But this did not seem super simplified to me.
Right. So it is 5 o'clock though,
Yes.
or
Okay.
5 o'clock Eastern on the hour for the rest of you who are not Eastern. So if you want to switch back to me, we're going to continue this discussion after we write for a half hour because we are here to write and not complain about other people's beat sheets.
Yeah, well, and for the record, I mean, we're not actually complaining. We're trying to sort of like, because I've used them, obviously, right?
Figure these grounds out. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to write for the next 30 minutes, and the topic is, or the prompt.
Ah, your main character reaches a boiling point. I suppose that should have been
Fun.
like your plot reaches a boiling point or something,
It's
but
okay. I mean,
whatever.
it could also be your MC literally just gets real pissed off about something. You can
Yeah,
decide that for
have
yourself,
fun.
though, and let us know in a half hour. Oh, oops. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, so that was like another 900 words for me. I'm feeling good about
Yay.
my words today.
That was nearly a 1K 30 minute.
Nearly. If this was a nano, I'd be past my daily goal. But yeah, but it's not a nano. I'm gonna have to decide if I
both evolved past 50,000 words.
Yeah, this is probably true. But my goal for today was ambitious. I was trying to do 6,666 words or something like that. I'm at 4,223, so it is still possible.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. That's fantastic. I rarely have 4,000 word days.
Yeah, no, me too. But I'm using a beat sheet, guys. So it's I'm totally like I'm caught in this whole thing right now. I'm supposed to be having my characters cross the threshold, cross the threshold, and I've got. Actually, no, never mind. I am doing fine. I allocated 2,000 words to this. I was just thinking I've got like a whole scene that I need to write still. But guess what? I've got 1,000 words left. So yeah, that's going. Those go really well for me. I think that's crazy. Like I really think that there's something like magic about having a really loose outline like that, where like you don't say my character is going to climb this mountain by like, X point in the story, but you do say my character will be climbing a mountain of some kind, metaphorically, by this point.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out how to make it happen. And I think that really works for me. So Chloe, what were you up to? Did you pick a beat sheet? Did you research some stuff?
No, I found some photos for the cover for my next story.
Oh.
Again, since I'm kind of floundering on the actual writing thing, I was like, I can be productive in other ways, and that other way is working on the cover design, which I am struggling a bit with because I know exactly what I want and I'm having issues finding the image for it.
I know what you mean. Actually, that's very interesting. I as you know, created the cover for the story that I'm writing right now yesterday. I also did.
I thought you did a really bang up job on that, though. And apparently I've been watching too much British stuff. I have no idea where that phrase came. Oh, you know what it is? It's because I listened to My Dad Wrote a Porno on the drive back from North Carolina. That was a 10-hour drive in the middle of the night. I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning after having worked the full shift before doing that. So My Dad Wrote a Porno really saved me. I feel better about my writing now. But also, it's a British podcast. That is exactly what it sounds like. It is a British man reading his the porno, the erotic fiction.
Oh no!
Wrote.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. I feel like it is a must listen to among podcasts. I've only listened to the first season, and from the sounds of it, that's most of what most people have listened to. I don't know. I feel like the first season is the first book. And I'm scared to keep going and find that either his writing has gotten better or that his writing has gotten worse.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's what I did, and that's why I just said bang up and let's keep going with
No,
this
it's all okay. Yeah, but okay, so I'm glad you thought my cover was a bang up job. I liked it too, but so part of my prep for my like using the beat sheet was actually like making sure I had the beat sheet. I did like 2 character worksheets, some like really simple stuff, and then I created the blurb. So this is the other thing that has started helping me, and I know that sounds kind of wonky, but like blurbs are so hard to write, and what I find is that right.
Yeah.
And what I've
They're my arch nemesis.
they're like awful, but I use that, fiction blurb tool that what's her name? Who wrote this? It's a girl on Facebook. I think on Facebook she goes by Leilani, and she has this Leilani Holland. She has like a blurb tool that you can find in the Indie Cover Project. So I wrote my blurb, and because I now have the blurb written, I know what I have to do in the story. And I'm sure I could change the blurb, right? But like, that was a really clean way to give myself like a 4-sentence outline that, had to be. So I recommend that if you are the kind of person who, like me, can plot forever and therefore plot away your story, or alternatively pants forever and therefore make it so that you never finish your damn story. This whole like blurb plus beat sheet thing is like,
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I can see the value in writing the blurb. It's not necessarily going to be the blurb, so it's a lot less stressful than writing the blurb, which again, I don't know why more people, I guess because they are that horrible. I was going to say, I don't know why more people don't offer their services as blurb writers.
Yeah.
Just like listen to somebody explain the plot for 20 minutes, then be like, here's your blurb. That'd be a really good resource that I would pay $25 for.
Oh, me too. Seriously.
Yeah, I would happily pay $25 for that. And I feel like if you're good at writing it, then that's like a good chunk of money right there.
Because they're so hard.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think having that real short summary or even a longer summary, like I am all about having, that's kind of what I do. It's just that I keep it in my head. But certainly when I am pantsing a story, I do have some like benchmarks that I want to hit as I go along. And sometimes I will, like, sometimes it will be a scene and I will go ahead and write or at least outline that scene because it like pops into my head and I'm like, this is absolutely what's going to happen. But I know how the story is going to end when I begin. It's just the adventure of how we get to the end from the beginning.
Yeah, that's actually, so I do that also. And
then I never know what like the climax is going to be. Like that is the one thing. And that's why if you've read my stuff, my climaxes are always insane.
Actually, so I shouldn't say I'm exactly like that. Sometimes I know what the climax is, but I know nothing else. Or like sometimes I know the end.
Even with Talia, where I was literally just rewriting a story that already exists. It's a retelling of a fairy tale, but like I didn't even change the time frame or anything on it. But because it was a super old fairy tale, that climax was as batshit as every single other climax I've ever written.
Personally, I don't think that your climaxes are batshit, for the record. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's
Red Warrants have you yet?
I haven't. True. Yeah.
Keep going.
No, but I think that's it's another way to handle things, right? So like for you might have a particular end in mind. You have, you obviously have the beginning, or at least you start somewhere, and then you've got the journey in between. And I think that when you have those things, it helps make it so that your story doesn't go offline too far. But so weirdly, I mean, I can do that stuff and then have my story go like it expands like a bomb. And I have to contain it, and I feel like that's like, actually I feel like it's one of the hardest jobs as a writer, like containing that story, because you have so much to say, right? And by the time you're like 10,000 words in, you don't know the characters that well, but like 50,000 in, you know them really well. And now you have things you want for them and like adventures you want to see them go on. And like, you just feel like the reader's going to want to see all of those too, obviously.
Yes.
And it becomes so hard to know like which of those, like which do they really care about? And where is it you just being like a little too in love with your own fantasy?
Yeah, I think that's exactly one of the biggest editing problems with longer stuff. I think when you're writing shorter stuff, you know that, and that's something that I had noticed. I was just looking at Jamie Gold's sheet. And I find it funny because she is a paranormal romance writer, but I still do believe that this sheet is not great for paranormal romance. I think it's good for contemporary or even historical, but not paranormal when you've got like this whole other world that you're building. But I was thrown off by the fact that it was set at 110,000 words, which, if you know the market, is way out of.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, that is not even a little bit a reasonable length on a romance. And then when you crunch it down, I'm sure it hits the mark well with like the 80,000, which is on the high end of romance. What are you targeting it at? Oh no, you're using a different one though.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of starting a paranormal romance in like a couple months, and
Oh
I
no,
was
you're
thinking,
using a different B sheet though.
yeah, sorry about that. If anybody's hearing some random phone going off, that is almost for
I didn't hear it.
sure
Oh no, now I do hear it.
spam. Okay, yeah, okay, go on. Sorry. Yeah, so I target like 60,000. And
Okay.
I feel like for paranormal romance that's reasonable, and that
Yeah.
if it ends up being 70,000 then, or even
Mhm.
75, like great, I've got a whole 300-page novel
And I think this
done.
sheet works at that length. But if you're going short, if you're going like I was trying to match it up to the 25,000 of Warren's Tabby that is my latest release. Um, and I don't think there would have been any way to follow that beat sheet at that length for an introduction PNR novel. So by introduction, I mean it's the first book in the series. I don't think it would have been the slightest bit feasible. Like you need to be that hold on, I'm just pulling it up right quickly. When I like redid the numbers on it, that inciting incident would have been on like page 11. And my inciting incident is literally the very beginning of the story.
I mean, I think that's kind of what has to be when like the inciting incident is page 11. So,
No, but I mean like by page 11 they're well beyond that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I
Um
mean, the thing about a beat sheet is it's not meant to be like the end, right? So it's not like it's where you start. So she's giving you
yeah.
a like, target this. And if you're generally like moving into act 2 or whatever by here, then you're probably doing okay. And I feel like that's great for pacing, like for
Yeah.
anybody who struggles with pacing. Like if your stories are slow in the beginning, then get thee to a beat sheet.
Yeah. Um
Are we?
yeah,
Do
that's
we?
that's fair. I don't know. It just so reading through, I feel like what I feel like the problem is that with for like if you're trying to write shorter stuff with it, like way shorter stuff with it, is that everything is so compressed down that these things are just not happening in the order that they are presented in on the beat sheet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I do think that like that's part of the reason that you have to like if you're gonna beat sheet, then you really need to customize your beat sheet, right? Like you have to look practically and say, yes,
Yeah,
this
you need to
works.
look at those elements and figure out how those elements actually work for you. And like working on something like this Excel sheet is going to be too tight for you. And
Right.
that's I think that's kind of the whole moral of the story as we go into our next war or next sprint, is that like you have to like take the info from these sheets and then ditch the sheet and make
Exactly.
your own sheet and then throw this out. But we are on our last 10 minutes. The topic of it is
Your main character tells us how they feel.
perfect. We'll see you guys in 10 minutes.
Okay, and that's it.
That is it.
Yeah, writing for
Did
the
you get that
day. So.
200 words in that you wanted?
I did okay today. I mean, this session I got in 2,245, and I was hoping I would get 3,000, but I mean,
But that's still good.
it is. It's still good, and I mean, like we said earlier, if I can, get a little closer there to my 6,000, then I mean, I'm 2,000 away. That is still potentially doable today.
That is nothing to sneeze at.
Well, that too, but still. And what about you?
I have to like redo what I was doing.
Yeah.
The photo thing, because I have to put 2 photos together. And I found the one photo, and then I went to get the second photo and discovered that my options were far more limited than I thought they were going to be. So now I have to find a different photo in order for them to match up right.
We should totally do like a cover design thing sometime. Like we should look at like covers and what things to watch out for when you're doing them yourself, because that would be fun.
I think that's a fair project for us at some point.
Yeah. we could probably take some that I've started on initially. I feel like mine could be very critiqued from like early days.
I mean, we kind of have to take yours so we don't hurt anybody else's feelings.
Exactly. All right, so hopefully if you joined us, you got some words in, and if you're watching this later, then hopefully you got, a whole lot of words in. And
yeah, either way, I hope you got some words in.
Yeah, gosh, that was serious rambling on my part, but okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. And we're going to be back next week, so...
we are going to be back next week. I am finally on... will we be back? Yes. We'll be back next week. The following week is going to be up in the air.
Okay. So
yeah.
So we'll let you know about the following week next week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I got confused.
Yeah. So otherwise, I think we should end our thing for the day.
Yeah, end it on a real confusing note, because that is what we are good at.
We are good at so much more than that, and so are you if you're watching.
That was the only thing that we were good at. Just that we are good at that. So good luck out there, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.